So it's Saturday, and we are going to have the budget in 4 days' time. And between now and then, there is more and more noise around the definition of what a working person is. Is a working person someone who goes to work, earns a paycheck? Is a working person someone who has investments, who gets an income from their investments? If so, should we be specifying how big their investment portfolio should be to be classed as a working person? We'll come to this in a moment. Are landlords working people? These are all legitimate questions that people are now asking because, as we've already covered this week, it is likely that if you earn over £100,000, that maybe, just maybe on Wednesday, you're going to see an increase to your tax. Now, we already discussed the fact that if you're on £100,000 a year, for every £2 that you owe, you lose £1 of your £12,570 personal allowance, which is the amount you can earn completely tax-free before you start to pay tax. So effectively, for people who earn over £125,000, you are effectively paying about 60% in income tax. And those are the people that potentially on Wednesday could see their taxes go up because they are not classified according to the definitions being given as working people. Now, this is important. This is really, really important because one of the key things that has been mentioned, and there are two, is landlords. So with landlords, it is deemed that a landlord who maybe has a large property portfolio is not a working person because effectively they are generating rent from their assets, and those assets are doing so from a passive point of view. It's why property is so popular in today's age. Buy property, tenants are in there, you get profit every single month from the tenants. Now, there is a lot of backlash from landlords saying, well, actually, you know what, we are working people because we still have to maintain the property, so on and so forth. And I think also within this conversation around landlords, there is the question of, okay, so landlords with how many properties? Are you looking at landlords with extensive property portfolios, or are you looking at landlords with maybe one or two properties? Where's the distinction? And that distinction is important because of the next category of people that, according to the media reporting, may also not be classed as working people. And those are people who have assets that they derive an income from. So in other words, if you have any stocks and shares that generates an income, you may not be classed as a working person. Now, this is problematic because if you have a relative, family member who is a pensioner, who has pension income, well, technically, they're not working every single day, but they're getting an income from their pension. So, should they be classed as a working person, although they have been a working person in the past? This gets really convoluted and really confusing, and we need a little bit of clarity because even Keir Starmer has said that a working person, according to his definition, is someone who goes to work every single day, earns a pay slip, and may not have necessarily money set aside that could get them out of a pinch should they need to get out of a pinch. It's a very narrow definition. And within that, it doesn't account for people who have ISAs, pensions, that may or may not be generating them income. In fact, according to some of the language that I've seen being used, if you have any investments at all, you're not classed as a working person, which I think is problematic because I think we need to get into encouraging people to invest as early as possible. And to think that if you have a stocks and shares ISA that you're not generating an income from, by the way, but the pure fact that you have a disposable income to put into an ISA or a pension or an investment of some kind that you're not working class, I think is problematic. Now, it's very interesting because today there is a test on the Telegraph website. And I'm just going to go through this with you because you can take a quiz and find out whether Keir Starmer considers you as a working person. Let me show you what this looks like. Now, this right here is the test. So it's on Telegraph. I will link this down below. So you start the quiz. And the first question is, do you go out to work and earn a living with an income usually paid in pay slips every month or whatever it may be? And I'm going to answer this based on my circumstances. I'm going to say yes because I get a paycheck? Are you one of 2.8 million landlords in Britain who receives an income from renting out a property? In my case, I am soon to be, so yes. Do you have maybe a bit of savings but not huge savings? Now that's subjective. What do you mean a little bit of savings but not huge savings? I have a decent emergency fund, so I'm going to say yes. When things get a bit tough, can you simply get a checkbook out and write your way out of problems you are facing? For me, I have an emergency fund, so I'm going to say yes. Are you one of millions of investors in Britain who receive income from shares? Now, I don't receive an income from shares, but my investments will generate an income in shares via way of dividends, which are reinvested. So the answer to this can be yes or no. I'm not currently taking an income, so I'm going to say no. Do you have an anxiety in the bottom of your stomach that should something happen to you or your family that you cannot write a check to get yourself out of difficulty? Again, this is going to be subjective because it depends on where you are. But for me, I feel a little secure. So if I answer yes to that question, it says here bad luck. Keir Starmer does not class you as a working person. Now, in all seriousness, I would class myself to be quite lucky to be in the position that I'm in right now. Albeit it was not given to me, it's a byproduct of really hard work and understanding what I needed to do from a financial point of view to ensure that I have a good cash buffer, I'm able to invest, and I'm not laden with debt. And I realised that there are multitudes, millions of homes in the UK that aren't in that position. But I do think there needs to be more clarity from the government in terms of what they regard as a working person. And the reason why I say that is because how can you classify a pensioner who is retired right now, and you will know some people who may be heading to retirement as non-working people because they're generating an income from their pension, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a huge amount in pensions. I think that we need more clarification in the fact that if you have assets that you can generate an income from and they're above, say, 2 million, 3 million quid, those are clearly not working people. If you are a landlord and you have a vast property portfolio, okay, it may be debatable that you are a working person, but it then depends on the value of your asset base, of your property portfolio. And I think there needs to be a clearer distinction to ascertain working people in this conversation as we head into the budget next Wednesday. I think all of this, dancing around what they mean by a working person and corrections coming out and clarifications coming out doesn't help the conversation that we need to have. But next week we're going to find out where the cookie crumbles and what happens, because at this point in time everything we've been speaking about is all just rumor. We don't know for sure. We're going to find out on Wednesday. But I do think that ultimately you cannot class someone who has a pension who may only have, £200,000 that they're generating income from. It's not a lot of money in the scheme of things when you think about the fact that this thing has to last them through their retirement. £200,000 is not a lot of money. So I think there needs to be a lot of clarification around that. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below, because I can't be alone in this. If you want to take that quiz, by the way, I will link it, like I said, in the comment section and descriptions. And let me know what you think. But Wednesday's going to be interesting. We think capital gain tax will probably go up 33 to 39% is what is being bandied around. But it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do on income tax for £100,000 plus if they do it. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know. Cheers.